like I'm niche. Talk about his job, anyway. You'd probably be super fascinated with that conversation, but we're not going to have it anymore. So suck it.
And you're welcome.
Yeah.
That's why we have a while you're not recording.
But if anybody wants to hire us for things, we have a pay scale, and you probably can't afford it.
It's $12
Well,
a month.
that's for the job part. For funsies, we'll do it for $2. We like to do things for $2.
No, $10 at a minimum.
There's different words, but I'm not sure if it's on the banned words list. So
we have a Patreon.
Yeah, how long?
And then you get access to the Discord, in which case we have conversations via GIFs about dumb things.
I think there are certain banned words we can't say at all now because then we just get fully demonetized. I mean, they were always there. But...
I mean, I just assumed if there's going to be a word on the list, this is probably one of those words. So, I felt comfortable not saying it on air. But you know what people who do things for $2 are called and what that's called.
And that's why Andreas is in
podcasters.
Yeah, because Andreas would be like, no, I don't. Tell me.
No, because he's doing it right now. He's currently engaged in said activities.
D&D? What?
No. Yeah. Oh, D&D is, yep, absolutely. D&D, all right.
So you put question marks, but we do actually have 2 topics today.
No, it says it up there.
I changed it.
Did you change it?
Yes, I did. Well, pay attention.
It doesn't do it
whether
when
or
I'm
not
in full
the YouTube
screen.
People can see it is different.
Wait, what?
It says on the fugitive and the nature of prisons because we're all wardens here.
Hold on. What universe am I in?
I don't know. It says it on the.
That was not the topic I was expecting, but okay.
Oh,
yeah. Well, how do you think I feel?
Right. So we had a thought a while ago about, because there is the short story Fugitive that's coming out.
Oh yeah, we changed
and
it.
And Mouse and Kerberos are going to go track down someone who broke out of Hades. And then it's like, what is like the nature of Nevernever prisons and Demon Reach and Hades especially, of like who broke out, how did they break out, how is this built in the Nevernever to allow for such a possibility, and speculate from there.
I feel like I'm just, for right now, I'm just going to put another disclaimer that if you're not an adult or you don't approve of adult level topics, maybe just be wary that things are going to come out of my mouth that you might not enjoy. I'm just saying right now. So don't be mad at us because we told you twice and YouTube's told you, and we're 3 minutes in now. So
it's been a while since you gave that particular discretionary comment.
I know, right? Because she's sitting here talking about the Nevernever, and we know that the Nevernever is shaped by the will of powerful creatures. Does that mean that prison is a mind? And how BDSM are we talking? Because, yeah. That's why I had to put the extra disclaimer. So,
hey, listen, I'm all for you finally leading that discussion for once.
Who runs the prison in Arctis Tor? Does Mab take care of that directly? And is there a reason?
Yes,
I feel like she's pretty hands-on.
She's the mistress, if you would. Because I was like, Leah would have plenty of fun too when she's not, participating in being
maybe
one of the prisoners.
Like a training ground, Everybody gets to have a...
You got to train the trainer, right? You can't be a warden unless you know what it's like to be a prisoner. So
exactly.
Yeah. And if the prisoner kills said warden, clearly they were not strong enough to be the warden and should be replaced with someone better.
It only makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what the author would do.
So Hades has a dog as a warden.
A 3-headed dog.
He's also got his little labyrinth of... ways to get in. You would think there would be some sort of method on getting out, if not those alone.
And that's part of the interesting question about Hades, because it's not just a place where the dead go and are held. It's a vault where they break into to get things as they need to and get out. And so they have not only an entryway, but they have an outway because it's a vault and as well as a prison.
Those aren't necessarily one and the same, because we know that the spirits were kept elsewhere because they were the failsafe, right?
Yeah,
with the 3 statues.
Yeah,
the other
which is always good when you can use your inmates as security.
No, I mean, obviously, right? Like, that's why I love necromancy. It takes a problem like attrition and it just makes it work for you, right? You know, like every time you lose a soldier, did you really? But every time he loses a soldier, now we're recruiting, you know? So,
Mhm.
yeah. But maybe not in the Dresden verse, but in D&D terms, like that's how I always cash
Well,
it.
I think
But
when you get up to the like
um,
level of Kemmler, because that was the whole point of the World
well,
War, right? It was like
yeah.
his playground.
He cheated is all I'm saying. Like, you know, maybe Dracul's crew could do it too, but you know, since they went straight for, you know, but so my other thought though is like, who's escaping Hades?
Exactly.
No, I know, right? But like anyone who's been there of any kind of note that we could think of has been there for potentially thousands of years, right?
Well,
Except one notable, possibly three
how
notables.
many people do we know by name are in Hades? We've got the obvious, which is Deirdre. Socrates was mentioned, and
Nope,
who else?
stop. We already know somebody's out.
We know somebody.
Yeah, but he
But
wasn't.
Blood on his
But now he
soul.
wasn't dead.
No, but
right.
blood on his soul / Ursiel is out. So maybe he's the fugitive. Or we don't know what happened to Asher other than, you know, we didn't see her anymore after she got obfuscated by rocks. It's kind of tenuous on whether or not that counts as like, did we see the body or not? But like
Right.
maybe Lashiel gets out. And that's what I'm saying is like, we know very recently some people who went in, and we know at least one of them who's out again. So if you are correct, and that the vault and Hades, where they keep the souls, is virtually indistinguishable, they're two rooms of the same building or whatever, then yeah, maybe Mouse and Kerberos are going after you know, blood on his soul.
Well, it's possible
So
you're not allowed to be held there if you're still alive. I guess would be another
he
option.
was jelly. Like, how still alive are we talking? Like,
Well,
if you're like the thing and every living cell is an independent creature, like does that count? Like, well,
that's why
there's
I
a pile
hated
of
that he
cells
came
over
back
there.
in the first place. The second option is because we're on the Lord of the Rings kick, and so watching the movie, it's you got Gandalf's line about Gollum is escaped or was set loose. So maybe
Yes, but if
maybe
Kerberos
Hades lets something out every once in a while so that Spot can stretch his legs. You know.
I mean, okay.
Hey,
You got to give
listen,
the
you don't
dog
want
something to
your
do.
hunting dog to get rusty. You go on the hunt.
Exactly.
Let
Like
him out.
Mouse, that was a good boy that was living at the Carpenter family and getting a lot of treats.
Right, he got
Kerberos
fat,
stays
and
trim.
then he couldn't handle one of his own in a fight the way he probably should have. So now he's going, you know, he's slimming down to fighting weight, and he goes on a hunt to get his edge back with Spot, who, you know, every 100 or 1,000 years, Hades lets somebody out so that he can keep himself sharp. And there you go, problem solved.
That could also feed into some form of folklore knowledge of Hades and these people that are supposed to be in Hades, and like kind of keeping the idea fresh, kind of thinking of the way that Mab had done with the Brothers Grimm and getting the book of all the folklore published and spreading the idea of them giving her more power. Granted, Hades has Disney on his side currently.
The power of God in Disney.
I mean, James Woods, man, this is great. See, there's two small snippets from The Fugitive, and it is basically Mouse meeting Kerberos, and then also just the idea, oh, someone broke out to hurt my friend, and now I want to bite someone. There's no hints else about who or what or anything.
Come on. That's incidental, but that's not disproving what I said. So yeah. I think it's going to be funny that he gets taken down by two dogs, or she, because again, I think it's equally plausible that it's Asher. If you want to quibble about the whole, well, technically he was outside, he was in the munching trap, so he wasn't in Hades anymore, you know, but like, just make sure you the pinky when you're doing it. But you know, like, yeah, I think it's going to be one of those two for sure. So, and it's going to be funny as shit to see the Genosqua who ran his mouth that entire time and everybody's afraid of get taken down by two puppies. I mean, granted, Kerberos has got to be like Fenris big, right? He's huge, but
I do think of Fluffy from Harry Potter, but
I mean, still quite massive, right?
Well,
You know,
Hades was what, 7, 8 feet tall, something like
Yeah.
that, and he was petting the dog relatively.
Dog might be
easily.
horse-sized, perhaps, but mouse is colloquially called horse.
That doesn't mean he can't necessarily get bigger, you know, because
That's true,
you're in
because-
Hades' dimension. You can essentially, if you're part of that, you could probably manipulate your.
Yeah, the same way that the Nagloshi and Gray probably they change shape and put weight and everything and pull it. He could probably make himself as big as he wants to be. Mab can change her height all the time.
I think maybe the person who got out was Sisyphus because he moved out of the way and let the boulder roll down and created a hole, and he just ran out.
I like it.
He didn't think all this time that was an option. It was like, oops, I slipped one day. Shit. Okay, I'm out of here.
Brilliant idea. Maybe the pain
right up there with Prometheus just grabs one of the fucking griffins and just rides off into the sunset. Like
I have to imagine
rode
Prometheus
the
is.
eagles.
Well, that's the thing. Prometheus is stuck on a mountain. He's not in Hades.
Is the mountain
It's
in
kind of
Hades?
the same thing, isn't it? So
Well, no, because the punishment is that he's like chained to the side of the mountain, and the eagle or whatever it is that comes down and like kills him every day.
It, like eats his liver or something.
So I don't know if it's supposed to be a mountain in Hades, but
See, this
I
is
thought it
like
was
the
just on a
nature
I thought it was
of
just on a
Nevernever
mountainside.
prisons. Like it can be a mountain.
Right.
That mountain can just
I
be
know,
in
it's like-
Hades.
Sure.
I was like, we're quibbling about shit that doesn't exactly follow Euclidean geometry, guys. like,
My point is, Hades seems like the kind of guy that would be like, no,
If it
you
could
did
be-
you did your thing. I'm not really going to let the eagle eat you every day.
if it could be bigger on the inside, I dare say that the outside could be inside. So, you know.
Your entrails will become extrails.
Yes.
So-
Exactly. Pain.
Lots of pain. I love that movie so much.
You gotta get something else to do this weekend.
Prisons, and so Hades has this issue of it being a vault, as we've been saying, and at least it has a consistent warden overlooking it. Hades and Kerberos seems to be there all the time, watching over the people and making sure they're going through what they're supposed to be going through. Not everyone is suffering. Some people are just being questioned all the time, like Socrates. The next prison that we know of is Demon Reach, if you're discounting anything like Mab's Garden and Arctis Tor, which is maybe a prison, maybe not. But Demon Reach hasn't had wardens fully, I forgot the word. There's gaps in when someone has been a warden in between their
Contiguous
tenures.
is a good word.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Podcasting. I do this, right? Words.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but English
Yeah.
don't do.
I like the fact that you had dropped it like words. Mm-mm. Not words, no, not words, you know. Words grunt noises. So but you're right, because the last one was Kemmler, right? So it's kind of been a minute. Like it's been like 40 or 50 years at a minimum, right? Depending on when he actually died. We're not counting to the world wars. Those have been longer, you know, but it's like he made it to the 60s, didn't he? So I guess, you know, like 60-ish years by today's reckoning, you know.
And that's
So
I mean,
like
yeah, that's 60-ish years ago. Justin wasn't even born. And Demoners was just in stasis the whole time? Or like
maybe Alfred was below decks, you know, and he was walking, right? Because we see him walk with Dresden. Maybe he doesn't need to, like, you know, it's maybe he's a holographic projection as much as anything, but
right. I
you
mean,
know, he is the island. So.
yeah, and he has a sense of self-preservation, and so he's probably doing all of those important things like flossing and working out and eating right and keeping himself healthy.
Demon Reach. Yeah.
But so the nature of what a warden is, I mean, so Dresden can put people in said prison and let them out. And we don't, I mean, that is enough to be crazy powerful, but we don't know if there's anything more to it. And was it built in such a way that it doesn't need constant upkeep, which apparently Hades might, or maybe Hades just stays there because it's comfy. We don't actually know. We're splitting hairs. And what's on the other side of Demon Reach? Probably something very scary, but that is a vulnerability to not know. And I'm sure Butcher said something about it, probably just in the line of, it's very scary and you don't want to go there.
No, Nicodemus said as much.
Ah.
But, I mean, let's face it, it's like being a Starborn. It's very dangerous not to know, and yet it's not plot relevant yet, so here we are.
And yet this is a thing that Dresden should really ask the question, because it happened to him in Changes. If he didn't know what was on the other side and he found a garden with giant bugs.
Yeah, like it's not bad enough that Dresden doesn't ask the question. The problem is Dresden will have his nose rubbed in the question and he still won't. Like, be like, hey, remember that time that you didn't ask the question and it was literally detrimental? Maybe next time you should ask the question. And then he'll be like, what question? Like, that's how dumb he is. Like, because like you said, I mean, what's annoying, and I kind of chalk it up to author forgetfulness, is the fact that he does talk about having gone to the Nevernever. At least, okay, we can quibble, and he was outside of his door, right? So maybe that's enough metaphysical distance in the Nevernever to be somewhere else, because it's bigger on the inside.
Or
but like,
maybe Leah just hadn't started up with the garden yet or something. But
right. But he fucking knows. He knows. And then he didn't knows when it became important with Leah, and Changes. And then he doesn't know with, Demon Reach. But like, don't be stupid enough to try it, because I gotta imagine maybe that's where Hades is on the other side, or at least something equivalent to Hades could very much be on the other side, in the Nevernever in Demon Reach, because it's like, I don't know. We've got a prison that, as it has got to be at least partially metaphysical, right? And, so like maybe that's it. Maybe the answer is it's already kind of in between. So the other side of Demon Reach is just more Demon Reach or something like that. But, it very well could be like, oh, I don't know, what other kind of like Nevernever based prison systems are we aware of?
Right. Pull anything from mythology. Yeah, probably.
Right. Well, and to clarify too, like it's a chicken and the egg thing, right? Maybe Demon Reach is metaphysically on the other side of where Hades was in the first place. And so that's why it got picked for where it was. But we also know that it was built through multiple dimensions. So, it probably was its own thing. For all intents and purposes at the time, it was the middle effing nowhere, nobody even knew about America at the time that it was being crafted, right? Like the Americas, the whole thing. They didn't know about the West Indies or any of that, So he was just like, look, Europe's over here. What if I put it like 1,000 miles over there, and
surely no one will come here.
Right. Like,
who
that should be safe for a while, right?
Wasteland.
Well, the thing is, it's funny because it's like in the middle of a lake, in the middle of at that time, undiscovered continent, quote unquote.
Right. At the same time, though, like, he's literally potentially using time magic, and there's a lot of legend that, like, Merlin knew about all sorts of crazy times in the future and shit. So,
right. Did he
know? It was probably like, this is going to be the safest thing for a while, like, unless you do like, what is it, Point Nemo or Antarctica, or like,
or that one island, definitely that one tribe left that you're not allowed to go near.
Right. Yeah. Bad news for them, I guess. But but it had to be near Chicago, I guess, because that's where the story's based. But
right.
Pizza is.
So why did Maeve and company attack Demon Reach on reality side instead of Nevernever side?
They did, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They were assaulting through both, essentially, at the time.
Yeah, they made the circle, and they were...
Oh, right. So they're doing circles and stuff, but like they got on jet skis and went to the island physically.
Yeah, in reality. Okay, maybe I misunderstood what you said. I thought you said, why didn't they attack it on the physical side? And I'm like, they did?
No, they went to it physically in reality from Chicago, airdropped in and whatever, instead of going through Nevernever. And
maybe the Nevernever side is even scarier.
So. Well, yeah, it's probably a lot harder to be slinging around that kind of power where you're not in your own dements, for one.
Fair. Yeah.
And for another, the whole point was kind of see if they do it. Let's say there's the option, like there's a backdoor option, and you let all those things out in the Nevernever. Fine, that sucks for the Nevernever, but that doesn't really impact the physical world because you still got to get them there. And if the
That's
whole
true,
point
too.
is to screw up reality writ large, you kind of want them in reality.
They
writ large.
they did want the nuke to go off, in Chicago. They were like, yes, we failed, but then still kaboom, which I win, like.
I mean, the way the spell was set up, it was going to kind of unravel the whole thing, which means it would have had to have undo the tethers theoretically in the spirit world too, I would imagine.
Sure.
But either way, it's probably easier, and it's definitely more what they want to do it on the physical side. And easier being, a loose term here. But if it is easier, it is easier.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel it's worth mentioning too that like the Fae are half in and half out, right? So, more towards your point, going to somebody else's house in the Never, super bad because you're all but powerless. But I can bring most of my power, if not all of my power, into the mortal world anyway, because hey, guess what? I'm half mortal too. So,
well, especially on
worlds.
Halloween, when you could theoretically add to that. I mean, that obviously makes you vulnerable, but the whole point was this whole state of flux. We don't know what that does. You could, I guess, in theory, just stick out Halloween and the Never. Most people don't because they either A, want the challenge, or B, want to actually add to their collective power. But if it doesn't quite affect the world in the same way in the Never that Halloween does, then maybe you're also running into that problem. Shit's more malleable here still. Like maybe it is in general, it seems the Never is kind of like you put enough will into something, you can alter it there. And Halloween's like the really big fraying of the lines between the veil. But again, that's just.
So the descriptions of things like the Wild Hunt and Halloween, all of those things happen. I mean, those are drawn from folklore that, of course, happen in physical world. But was there anything that said that the Wild Hunt has to happen in the real world? And he could have also done it in the Never, right? Or is there some form of in the rules, maybe not flat out said yet, that it has to happen in reality? That basically humans are the hunting ground.
Hold on, the big book of rules. No, but yeah. So. But I mean, yeah, I think it's one of those like the rules, and the rules are never written down because it's all oral tradition and whatever. But like if you think about
know them like toot,
right, the nature of the hunt, like I don't know, I might paint myself into a corner here because it's like very clearly we have mostly metaphysical beings running it, right? Like Earl King, Santa Claus, they exist on our world and they can come here outside of Halloween and whatever. So that's one thing. But like every other interaction we've seen from the hunt, it's usually involving mortals, right? Like there are some other like Fae-like creatures that get wrapped up into it, I think. But it's like, it's join, fight or die or whatever, so it's just like,
is it join,
Thomas
hide, or
has
die?
been is it hide? Okay.
Yeah, because you can hide and stay out of their way, or you can join them because the expectation is that fighting them doesn't win.
Dresden fought and won, but I mean, obviously,
the loophole they didn't say.
The Earl King, like, or was it Santa Claus got down behind the Earl King and then he got pushed over the top of him? Like, I get it, but
pretty much.
But he did fight, technically. So
I mean, the hunt also seems to be, again, tied to Halloween. It's not quite as strict, but that again, it offers them the ability. They can go out for a hunt. Something can kill them, which makes it fun, but it also lets them, they can let loose their inhibitions and just sort of go buck wild for a night.
Yeah. Like, yeah, we could die, therefore danger, therefore it's sporting, aka hunting. And, B, we get to wear masks while we're doing it. Come on. C, people are made of candy. So,
well, that's the other thing. So, if you're doing it on Halloween and power is a little more squishy and malleable, so that's when you get this ethereal force that just a random dude can hop into and become, like a killer for a night. And
Or
then when
a
Dresden
motorcycle.
shoots him, they fall down and they're back to being, dead. When they're just a
Right.
person. But so you have those options too that allows the mortals to get in on the fun. I mean, even Thomas, he joined for the night, right? So
Yeah, he's a predator. He knows what it's about.
he is a predator.
And he survived, which he might not have if he tried to hide.
Well, he ran long enough, and then he was like, "Yeah, no, I'm just going to head up and do this because I do want to live."
So, kind of connected in all of this, I have this dumb thought of like, if Halloween is where everything is thinner in the barrier and more malleable, is that the best time to break out of a prison? Like, because literally the walls are thinner?
Probably. I think there was, because that gets mentioned with Graceland a bit. Like when the spirits are kind of coming and going then, but if they're not back there by the time Halloween's over or sunrise and they're not in the safety of their graves, they get melted.
Yes, because the sun is big and scary, just like the Chronicles.
But that was the whole description he gave of cemeteries, is like the walls are not built to keep people out. They're built to keep things in. And I imagine, yes, nighttime in general, but Halloween especially will allow them. It does allow them to go out and about. So.
Well, I mean, I think that's just mostly the lack of the sun thing going on, because the sun is the cleansing force, right? So it's like they could go out in the day, but as we've heard from Bob a few times, that's a bad idea if you're a spirit folk. So
yeah, I think it's more prominent that a lot more go out on Halloween, or at least it seemed to be that there was a lot more activity on Halloween the few times it was mentioned than there was. Like Inez hops out and goes around and does whatever she wants whenever she wants. But most of them are probably just chilling in the graveyard the whole time.
Along with all the teenagers that are smoking clove cigarettes.
It's what you do.
I never did that. I think I missed out.
I haven't done that either. I've drunkenly wandered through a cemetery before. Or actually, I don't even think I was drunk. I think I was just being stupid. Yeah.
Your teenage escapades through a cemetery.
Well, let me say it this way, because I've been through cemeteries on like ghost tours and stuff at night, but that's obviously a tour thing. There's supervision and all that. Actually, just wandering through a cemetery on my own with some friends has happened one time. I think I was 19 or 20. Yeah,
I went to Graceland by myself. That was fun. So, yeah. Go look deep into the cowl of the statue, and
Eternal Silence.
Yeah, went and found Inez and tried to go walk out to where the GPS told me that Harry's grave should have been. So, but yeah, it's way bigger. There was snow on the ground, so it was quiet as F. And it was pretty much me and like, I think maybe one or two groups passed through it, like, but it's huge. So it's like, we're talking hundreds of yards, and whatever. And it's like, yes, there are people over there. So I guess they'll hear my screams, but
maybe,
but they're not going to find you.
Right. Be like, huh, what's all this red stuff?
Somebody dropped a can of paint or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Graceland is massive. You can see it from like Google Maps. Like it is huge. Where was I going with the questions a minute ago? I don't remember. Something about Halloween breaking out of a prison at the same time, and it's like so. We know two tiny little tidbits of the Fugitive, but like I wonder if it will take place during Halloween in the middle of 12 months.
Hannah Asher, then. I'm going to explain why. It's Halloween, so she can break out. It's Harry's birthday. She's going to try the exploding cake trick. She's going to do the Mr. President coming out of the cake thing. Just saying. So, final answer. If it's Halloween, it's Hannah Asher. So, you're welcome.
I got to tell you, if she comes back alive too, then I'm going to be even less happy. And
yeah.
I'm not going to take Hades seriously anymore as a threat. you know,
I would
area.
definitely prefer to just see Lashiel in like somebody else's body, and like even not a very good one. Like she's just in some schlub, you know, where it's like, look at what the last body was so much better. Look at what you made me put on, you know, type of thing. I think that would be funnier, but you know, so
Oh.
So she's in Binder's body.
sure, you know.
Poor Binder.
Yeah.
So there's one bit of like whoever does break out is clearly targeting Harry, and that's why Mouse is upset and going to go bite somebody. So it does have to be someone who wants to hurt Harry Dresden, and
Right.
Hannah Asher, I guess, kind of has a reason.
Yeah, I mean,
I
got no reason to believe it's anything other than the Denarians, because if it's not one of those two, it's literally anybody. Like it's going to wind up being just like, wait a minute, weren't you the minor villain? Like it's Kravos, right? Like for all I care, right? Like the only thing that will make it matter is that it's somebody that we've seen, and so
I was going to say,
because it's Hades,
who were those women he killed that were like doing the Dionysus cult in one of the short stories? That's
sure.
freak. That's freak.
Oh yeah, like backup, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or it'd be the freaking twins for all I care, the vampire twins, or you know, it's somehow it's Esmeralda and you know what's his nuts.
So they not only broke out of the Earl Kings thing, they then went to Hades, got in prison, and broke out of there too.
The Earl King doesn't run a prison; he runs a dungeon, and so for long-term storage, I don't know. Like that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter. Like it's speculation. You know, like any answer is a good answer, but it's like it's Hades. We know people that were stuck in Hades. Yeah. And they want to hurt Harry Dresden. Like that's all we need.
It's Socrates, and he wants to make Harry Dresden ask the right questions about all this shit. Ask what a fucking Starborn is, you moron.
We need a good action title for Socrates, because this could be Socrates 2. This time it's personal, you know. So
it would be great. And the harm that Mouse doesn't want to come to Harry is the brain damage of asking a question.
What is it? People always associate still not knowing the Earth was round with back then, right? So it'll be like Socrates on the edge of the world, even though I'm sure they knew it was round.
They did. They even knew the circumference.
Yeah, well, I don't know
within a measure,
but I'm still alive. So
a very good measure for how little tools that they had.
Yeah. No, I mean, if you haven't seen the Carl Sagan bit on that, I think it was Carl Sagan. It's really good. So it's that or Arthur C. Clarke. One of the two of them had a write-up on like, you know, like, yeah, sure, they were wrong, but they were so crazy precise that like until we had satellites, you know, you don't get close enough, you know. So it's kind of a fun thing, because it's like if you assume this, you're like 99% correct. But then with this thing, now we're like 99.5% correct. Now with satellites, we're like 99.9% correct. Like they were close enough, you know. So.
Yeah, we can give them credit, round upwards.
Right.
And everyone else is like, wake me up when you get to 100.
Right.
So the joke plot twist, it would be Thomas. It spurned a thought of
Tomas.
Oh,
yeah,
Tomas,
specifically,
right.
it's his gay French salon self.
I don't believe for an instant the H was a typo. So.
Correct. Okay. So Thomas in Demon Reach prison. But Hades does seem to have like actual discussion with people, like as he mentioned, having brunch with Socrates. Maybe he would have some tips on how to rehabilitate people. Most of the people of Demon Reach cannot be rehabilitated, because it's like you can't make the Titan not want to destroy things. But if he asks more questions, Harry might learn how to do more things with the tools that he's been given, as we can try to draw off of the tools that other people have that are very similar and what they've done with it. Like Hades has been doing this for thousands of years.
Okay, this is very postmodern liberal of you and hooray and stuff, but like there is zero evidence that I can think of that Hades does any rehabilitation. That's not what Hades is for. Like Hades is the original, you done fucked up for the last time and you're going to pay for it forever. Right?
Not all of them are bad. I mean, like,
no, I mean, sure. technically, like Socrates didn't do anything wrong from our standard, I guess, but like the state still condemned him to death and everything. And for whatever reason, he's in Hades, maybe because there's literally a lack of alternatives if you don't ascend. But
I think there is.
I had to imagine it's what he would have believed in at the time.
Look, and what I'm saying is, if anybody could be habilitated, wouldn't you think Socrates would be up on the list? So
I guess there's a difference between. So Thomas needs a very physical rehabilitation and time.
Right.
There's a difference between what he needs. It's like Socrates is sort of like what is his penance really? And hypothetically speaking, let's say 10,000 years from now, he hit a certain metric and it was all good. So what's the next best thing? He goes to the Elysian Fields instead? I mean, is that really going to be a huge difference for him? Probably not. I can't imagine he has that hard a life down in Hades if his punishment is people question him, which was his life anyway.
Better views, maybe.
Do you know that for sure?
I mean, I gotta imagine I'd rather look at fields all day than the inside of a cave. I don't know. So
I imagine the company is much better.
Could be Plato's cave and have a bunch of.
And what's the line from the Billy Joel song? You'd rather laugh with the sinners than cry with the saints. I mean, what are you going to do in the fields? You just do nothing. You're going to listen to harp music and see green shit. Big deal.
Yeah. No. And it's like scientifically proven that seeing green shit is good for the soul, which you are literally a soul. So.
And it's worked out for him so far. He's clearly fine.
Hades is probably, we're going to reskin that joke. Like, Zeus goes down to Hades, is like, give me Socrates or I'll sue. And it's like, where are you going to get a lawyer? So Hades is like, I got the market cornered on philosophers. Suck it, Zeus. So.
Yeah.
I imagine at this point in his life, Hades is like, so no.
Right. Like, who are you and how did you
go away? Right. First of all, I'm your older brother. Let's get something straight here. Just because you tricked me into taking this job, well, now I'm going to do the job. That's what malicious compliance. He doesn't have to do
right. Which is so much fun. Sometimes.
So, I want to know why he decided to have a crown of Mordite. I mean, it's cool and all.
Yeah, I mean...
Because he's got a sense of style. Like, out of all the things, right? If you're an immortal and you can't be killed by shit, like you wouldn't walk around wearing like uranium jewelry and shit that would like melt your soul and your face off and whatever. Be like it's funny because Mordite is one of those things too, where it's like anti-creation theoretically, right? So it's like it could actually hurt him, but because he's nearly all powerful, he could just be like, yeah, but it's going to be like this far away from me at all times. So, it's
as long
like
as you don't trip.
Encasing something in resin, it's like you could have resin-based jewelry where it's like, yeah, as long as it's in the resin, I'm safe. Whatever.
Well, it's the fun thing with Mordite is it seems to be the kind of thing like it's really dangerous antimatter essentially, but it's pliable to your will. So it's kind of like this thing you can play with. So it's you are juggling a nuke, but you can juggle it.
Right. With a 100% success rate, like
so far.
So,
yeah.
I mean, you can have it in a box that the archive can have, and it could pit a vampire against an idiot wizard, and
Hold on, I'm putting this out there. Director, take notes. We're gonna do an episode where we come up with the bad captions for all of the books. Be like, so we're gonna make all the bad guys look good, and we're gonna make Dresden just look like what Dresden is, right? Be like, badass vampire fights idiot wizard. More at 11, like that's what we should do. We'll do Florida Man captions with Dresden as the punchline.
Badass vampire and idiot wizard juggle uranium for a few minutes.
Unshaved homeless man yells at the frogs falling from the sky. Like.
I was gonna say that could be a lot of the books if we take out the frogs part specifically.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Tall, dark, and
homeless
creepy.
man yells at the skies.
Yeah. Tall, dark, and creepy man. Last seen, at the what was the outside place where he saw Titania, right? Like, especially
Bird
because it's like
outlook.
a hookup place. Yeah, the bird sanctuary. Like, be like, just warn people off. Like, so.
Or proven guilty is a guy who's too old for comic book conventions keeps going anyway.
And he's hanging around a bunch of suspicious teenagers.
Right?
Well, to be fair, every teenager at a Comic-Con is suspicious, so it's...
Yeah. The headline is accurate.
Yeah.
White Knight is just, yeah, that's what Harry thinks he is.
That one might be one of the more clever titles of the book. It's just so on the nose, and yet it's perfect for, because of whatever. I've said this before. That's a great title.
White Knight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it is on the nose, but it's also inverted at the same time, and it's still perfect,
Exactly.
So it's just like, yeah.
Yeah. It's
whereas like Summer Night was just like on the nose, so.
Small favor. Idiot wizard saves the world. Gets a donut.
Let's say like the longest DoorDash delivery or something for the donut.
I don't know. That was only a couple of hours and the store was closed. That was pretty efficient.
Yeah, but the distance between, like, I don't know, that would be expensive.
Not if you have magic. Although theoretically that should be more expensive. People would upcharge for that shit.
Yeah, they would.
So, random thought, but along those lines, right? Do you think that Eldest Gruff is just standing outside the store patiently waiting? Or does he have enough time to be introspective about, like, what am I doing? I'm a badass wizard. I don't have to be standing here waiting for... I could conjure a donut. What am I doing with my life? I don't know.
I baked it by hand.
I think he was content to honor the spirit and the word of it so that he didn't have to kill Dresden. So he was probably just like, you know what?
Just standing there.
I'm going to get myself a Boston cream too. That's what I'm about.
I have a thought that it's like one of those like after credits, like the credits roll on the episode, but then the credits are over the action, right? Like Seinfeld or something. And so it's like, well, which scene am I going with? Is he there pissed off that he's standing outside of a closed store, or is he just like, I just got my ass kicked by a child. This is fantastic, like I'm
he's
so
standing
happy
there
to be
perfectly pleasant, and the idiot teenager that has to open it up at 4 a.m. is looking at him like, "What the fuck am I looking at?"
He walks up and he's like, "I think I'm still drunk from last night." And Eldest Gruff is just like the most pleasant creature in existence. He's like, "Good morning, young sir, young master."
Pardon me, mortal baker.
Like, what?
Can I please have one of your freshest vanilla frosted donuts?
Mustest thou put the sprinkles on thine donut? So
the kid's like, whatever, man.
He's
still high.
Headline for small favorite would be idiot fights with goats, or better, idiot headbutts goats.
Nice.
This is too much fun. This is dangerous. I'm gonna do this too much.
To the bakery. That would be a good side quest, because it really wasn't that long. It was, he got off the island and then he went to the car and the donut was there, and it was still like 4 a.m. or some shit. So,
there's got to be a 24-hour donut place in Chicago, right?
Certain Dunkin' Donuts will stay open 24 hours. They'll just have like a side window now these days. You're not really getting a fresh donut, but
yeah,
you get it.
We got to find somebody to make a short, because now I have the image of it's 4 a.m. The bakers are already inside baking the day's donuts, right? And they just hear a rap come from the window as he taps with his staff. And what does a smile from a goat look like anyway? So he just tries to smile at them through the window, and it's like the most horrifying thing.
So he just kind of walks through the way that Tiny Gruff melted through the floor, and he like leaves a $5 bill and makes his own coffee and gets the donut. Because Dresden specified, I want a real Chicago donut, so it had to have come from like an actual bakery as opposed to.
Oh, that's true. So he couldn't have baked it by hand.
He couldn't. And he couldn't have conjured it. Yeah, I forgot the stipulation. So
I mean, bakeries, the workers will be in there early because bakeries are weird, and sometimes they close at like 3 in the afternoon. But
Right.
Except
that's
even
because they
less
opened
the
at 4,
pastries
or
in
at
the
least they went
morning.
in at 4.
Diabetes for breakfast.
Whatever. He got his.
I had
donuts
some
for
this
it,
morning too.
yeah. Donuts or diabetes?
Yes.
Both.
No. I've been tested a couple of times, so mostly just the donut. So
One of those donuts is going to be too far. You'd be like, shit. Which one was it?
yeah, both my dad and my grandfather had it. So that there have been a couple of times where it's like, I feel something's coming on. Maybe I should go get seen.
And you don't want to let the family down. You have to carry on the proud.
Got to carry the line. So
more donuts.
Yeah, right. Okay. Anyway,
I haven't had
that was a fun.
I haven't had a good bakery donut in a long time. Like I used to have, especially when I was a kid, and sometimes would go into the city to my dad's office when it was like tax season and you have to work through the weekend, but he had us for visitation. And we would go and we would be in the conference room all day, just kind of chilling, doing our own shit. But in the mornings, they used to get fresh baked donuts from whatever bakery was nearby, and like, oh, so good, like actual real donuts.
Yeah, Salt Lake has a ton, and today being D&D day, which is why D&D, we've got a guy who lives not too far from one of the better bakeries downtown, and so when we do in person today, we're doing remote because all the scarlet fever and stuff running around this week. But yeah, he that'll be his contribution, is he'll bring a dozen or 2 donuts and whatever. But I will say from direct experience, it's totally worth getting donuts in Chicago. Apparently that's like one of their things too. So like they've got really good bakeries there, and that was where I had that donut the size of like my hand, which is impressive because like like the size of your face probably, so but
that's weird. This is kind of stirring up a memory. I think my grandfather used to have a bakery in Chicago long time ago. I wonder what happened with that.
Yeah.
Why did that stop?
One of the few places that was open after dark too, if I remember right. Like we did a late night donut and coffee run while I was out there. And yeah, it's weird as shit because like 90% of Chicago is like blackout. Like there's nothing, right? Like there's kind of street lights every block or so, is the way that I remember it. And nobody is on the streets. And then you just get to where your destination is, and there's just like hundreds of people, possibly thousands, who knows, but more than 10, and it was just fun. And it was like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm glad we're all happy. And like, yeah, we did pick up donuts because I think they also had like, there's bars nearby or whatever is part of why, everything's hopping. And we had a guy where it was like, we're going to park here for like 10 minutes and go get donuts, but we'll bring you one back, was like how they managed to park there. It's like, don't call the police or get us towed or anything. We'll be right back, but yeah, fun little incidental memory. So, but yeah, so I don't know. I'm the only one who theorized too much about who's breaking out other than Socrates, because apparently Socrates has spent the last 1,000 years getting swole so that he can do his, General Iroh escapes the prison routine.
I said Sisyphus.
Sisyphus.
Okay, yeah. Which, by the way, you were totally right on. Prometheus isn't there; he's in the Caucasus. But so
maybe the Caucasus could be in his.
Right.
They moved for a day and he got out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta let the mountains stretch their legs every now and again. So
just like the trees, they want to get up and move around once in a while.
Right. So we got ants now.
Cool. Yeah, of course we do. It'll be a good short story, Fugitive, all in Mouse's perspective, I assume. I hope it gives me some meat of a story. But at the same time, if it is a lot, I wonder why wouldn't it just be in a book, perhaps in 12 months? Like if it is a Denarian that is the bad guy, why is that a short story and not a book? That's significant, right? Unless they're seriously being downgraded.
It could just, I'm playing it for laughs,
Right.
Both myself and I could see it just being like, I guess Andreas isn't here, so I've got to carry the Buffy torch. But it's like one of those like where it gets built up the whole episode and you're like, oh God, how powerful and scary is this guy going to be? And then they just like bite him in the nards and then roll to black or something. They're dogs, whatever. They bite him and he's got the heart-shaped underwear, anyway. Yeah, I don't know. Like I generally agree with you, I guess, because it's like, but I also feel like it was foreshadowed a little bit that it's blood on his soul, because it's like, hey, he's in town and he's looking for you. And we're like, hey, guess what? He just came from the place that somebody just broke out of. That's fucking coincidence, isn't it? So
that is a very cohesive view of like, we got warning that blood is on his soul is out trying to kill Dresden, and Mouse is not going to let that happen. And Spot's not going to let a fugitive go, perhaps.
Right.
If he's counting as a fugitive, he's not technically in the vault and all those caveats. But is the doggy duo, are they going to be able to take down the evil Janoskua, or is it going to be he escapes again?
Maybe it's not that he is being downplayed per se as much as, like, I mean, maybe he's weak from the whole encounter, but maybe it's also because they get special powers because they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? Mouse is a guard dog and he's guarding his master, so he gets the blue juice instead of just being a very cool magical dog this time. And because dude's a fugitive, maybe Kerberos has some kind of binding, that is going to equalize it, right? If we're going to be serious in the world for like 30 seconds is all I can stand, really. But
well, I mean, we know enough to know that Mouse has the ability to threaten things like Andurio and Leah, and they will take it seriously. So, and he cheats, quote unquote. So now if we actually get to see what that entails, maybe.
Oh shit. Dresden's got like permanent ground now, right?
Yeah,
like,
he has a castle.
He's got a castle.
And he's back above what used to be his home. Like, does the castle count as a temple now?
It might.
Mouse is guarding it.
Well, and it's got wards and magic on it too, right? So it's already an important castle.
So it's like, yeah, right.
Yeah, if it all goes down at the castle, Mouse and Kerberos and Bob and Mister and Toot Toot, and it's like, it could be an entire arsenal.
Yeah.
Actually, that could be it. Maybe that's the whole thing. They're like chasing him around, trying to funnel him back towards the castle. And he like turns around to make a stand. Was like, "You two really think you can beat me?" It's like, no. And then he walks 5 feet and turns around. He's like, "But now."
Yeah, right. I've got this image of like a castle turning into a mech, and Bob's like right behind him, and just be like, "Yes."
Can I
were
help
saying?
You?
Yeah.
So, how many references to the movie are you think they're going to be in this story?
You're going to have to
one.
Be. So like
Harrison Ford and
Hercules.
Tommy Lee Jones.
The
Fugitive. The Fugitive.
The Fugitive. Gotcha. Yeah.
It's got to be at least one.
I didn't kill Plato. I don't know because I don't care.
Don't care.
I was like, there's only really one line that comes to mind. It's like, yeah.
Is it? Who's going to say it? Kerberos?
Or no, what was the main villain in that? He had like a prosthetic leg or something. So like maybe Blood on His Soul will have a prosthetic leg now. Like, I'm looking for a one-legged Native American mountain man. I'm looking for a one-legged Bigfoot. That's what he said.
Oh my god, that'd be funny.
Yeah, it's gonna be something.
So this story is, let's see, it's coming out March 7th in Instinct and Animal Rescue Anthology. Rescuers Anthology.
It's $5 if you buy it early. Otherwise, it's like 7 or 8 or something. So.
Yes, it's $4.99. If you pre-order an on-release date, it will go up to $6.99. There's a bunch of other people in it. Let's see, it's got Faith Hunter, Patricia Briggs, Shauna McGuire, Ellie Madison, Kelly Armstrong, a bunch of people. I'm going to stop reading because that's too much.
What's it called?
So, to tide us over while we are still waiting for the next Olympian Affair, that was what's called, and the next Dresden book, we'll get maybe more short stories. Although I'm still going to wonder if it's taking place, as other things have, during the time frame of 12 months. Why is it a short story not in the book? I'm just going to have this question until we get the book.
Ooh. If he was smart / hated himself, 12 months would just be an anthology.
Mm.
Because that's kind of what it's going to work out to be anyway, right? Effectively. Like it's going to be an anthology, but it's going to be like stitched together, where it's just like, I mean, yeah, that's an idea. I don't think he's going that route. I think he intends to write it as a book, but it's like, imagine he just writes a year in the life of Harry Dresden and you get 12 short stories and,
I mean, some of the
mean,
backbone could be there, but the through line seems to be therapy. He desperately needs some.
Yeah, we're reading the books for different things, but okay. So
Well, Dresden desperately needs therapy. Whether he's going to get it or not is a question, and who's going to provide it, and how much pain, blood, and tears is going to happen because of it.
Yeah.
It's all
Harry
different
Dresden is the therapy we made along the way. Wait, no, friends? Therapy is the friends we made? I don't know. So
Closer.
therapy is the math we did along the way, because that seems to be his like, yes, I've just had this violent image thrust into my brain. Better go do some math about it. No, Dresden, that is not how that works. Nobody thinks that.
Mab does, and she survived the Titan.
Wow.
She did the math. She did the math, and she took a hit from the Eye of Baelor, and she survived.
Just one, though. So 2 is right out. But yeah.
It's a really big, like, a proponent of its favorite. Yes, math will solve all the problems.
The power of God and math on my side. Yes.
The power of Bob and pizza.
There are many powers in the universe, but all of them were deceived because no, sorry.
I'm taking Bob and pizza over God and math at this point.
Yeah.
I don't trust either of those things.
Oh, I'm definitely God and math. Sorry, man. Like Bob and pizza, that's
You don't have to apologize. I got Bob and pizza. I got the better end of the
Yeah,
deal.
6 pizza.
I didn't see Bob Tink in the Eye of Baelor. So
Yet.
Yeah.
He has a castle now. He has a monster truck.
He got
castle.
to circle the Titan and be like, no, Utah.
Yeah, he did do a lot.
Also, he was smart and didn't get in the way of the eye, as opposed to some other idiot ice queens who did.
Yes, she did tank it for some reason. It was a good reason, because then the cooldown needed to go, and that's apparently a bitch. But
it always is when you don't have, the right configuration.
Mm-hmm. Need better buffs. Do you have any more goat puns we can say? I love goats.
Are you under the impression that I've come up with many this month? like this is just what I do is goat puns.
Yeah.
You are an encyclopedia named after a goat. Maybe you should start.
Seriously.
I stick to the important things.
The headlines of Small Paper, just like idiot fights with goats, is just stuck in my head. And I want more of them.
Here's looking at you, kid. There you go. That's what I got.
Well done. Okay. So next week, we're probably talking about Lord of the Rings, book 2 of book 1, because it's split up into multiple books that way, if I can ever finish reading it. And then after that, we will actually be discussing the contents of The Fugitive, because we'll have the book by then, the short story, and know all of the answers to these questions, right? Because Mouse is smart enough to ask the questions, right?
Sure.
Well, even if Mouse isn't, I hope Kerberos is. So,
but all that does is satisfy our curiosity, because it's not like you can tell Dresden. So,
does each head have a different personality? Is there going to be like 4 people in this book, but it's really
no? They
like
each have 2. They're all bipolar, so there's 6 personalities.
Ooh, I don't hate it.
Right.
I do. No, I don't think it's, like the night in Monty Python and the Holy Grail where the 3 heads are arguing with each other.
Or like the old thing where it's like, we're going to ask you a riddle. One of us tells the truth, one of us lies, and one of us bites you up for asking stupid questions. So
Well, if Harry's talking
Dude
to him,
treats
he's
him
going to have a
alive.
lot of bite marks on him. He's going to be
No,
like
he
he
won't,
was
because
back
he
with the
won't ask
report again.
questions.
No, he'll be like, "What do you mean? Ow! What the fuck?"
That's another question.
I was like, yeah, that's 2 bites. So
No, what the fuck is a valid question at that point?
no.
Valid. It's still a question.
What do you mean? What the fuck? Could you stop biting me? That's
You only
3.
get bit if it's
So,
stupid question. What the fuck is never a stupid question.
always. Especially after you just got bit for asking a stupid question. You know what you did.
All right. That's today. We'll be back with answers next week or next 2 weeks from now of the Fugitive.